Yeah. All righty. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Finance and Human Resources Committee and the Executive Committee. Item number 1 is the discussion of Racine County capital projects, the 911 radio infrastructure, patrol station, mental health building, ice center, and revitalization of Reef Point Marina. Mr. County Executive.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the county board who are here, and I hope that more will come and participate. It's a big summer for Racine County, the summer of 2024, and however you want to look at it, good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to be a huge summer. And I hope that you understand what we're talking about in most cases, but in all transparency, not all cases. We're talking about needs and not wants. And then we're also talking about leveraging money for maybe the wants. That's towards the end of the presentation. Look, all I can say is I hope that everybody engages. I've been asking for engagement. You want to disagree, that's great. I want questions. This is a 3-phase presentation. We're meeting this week, next week, and the week after. Today's kind of talking about the projects and projects only. Next week, we'll be talking about the financing aspect of this, and then the week after will be more of a marina presentation. They couldn't be here today, and that's fine because we'll gloss over some of it anyways. And then we hope to get this out of committee moving forward for a public hearing. I thought working with Corporation Council and the chair and vice chair, I do think we need a public hearing on this. I like the history of Racine County. It interests me. I'm probably the only one that isn't. Well, Bob, you and I are interested in Racine County history, but I don't think that we've ever taken up the gravity of all of this, and this is important stuff. So that's where we're at. So with that being said, I have this here, John, am I just hitting it? There we go. All right. So, and I hit down and nothing happened. Just let me know. So here's the capital projects, and up with me is Chief Deputy Widener and Director Bratz of the 911, and we're just gonna kind of play off each other on the 911 and the public safety building. And so I would suggest, rather than just hearing me opine and pontificate on all of this, if you have questions, just raise your hand and interrupt me. I think that's probably the easiest way to go. And again, Jackie and Jim will be talking about this as well and answering questions. So with that, we'll start with the 911 radio infrastructure. We are at the basis of where we did a request for proposal. This has been a 2-year process, essentially. So I don't think anybody can say we haven't been talking about this. I don't think anybody can say from a public standpoint that we haven't been, saying that this is a big problem. And Jackie, maybe I'll start with you. If you just want to kind of talk about real quickly, just the state of the infrastructure and what that means, not only to your dispatchers, but also what it means to those individuals who need 911. But before she goes, I'll just say 1997, 1998, when we turned this on, it was already considered end of life. We did the Racine County way, good, bad, or indifferent. We bubble gummed this up. We got parts on eBay. We worked with a lot of individuals to keep this system alive, for almost, essentially 25 years past its life. And our forefathers who created the system in 1998, they did it on the cheap. And again, good, bad, or indifferent, it worked for 25 years, but we are here now. And Jackie, if you could just take a minute, just talk about the age.
So like Jonathan said, it's, if you just think about it for a second, it's something that every officer across the county, officer, fire, EMS are using every single day to talk back to us and for us to give them the vital information that they need to respond to the calls. So if you think about it, it's the 9 police departments and the 12 fire and EMS departments that we dispatch for. And every single day, we handle 800 to 1,000 calls. Those are just 911 calls. So those turn into what can be multiple calls for service across the board. So just keeping in mind how much it's relied upon every single day. Do you want to expand on that?
Sure. So just to piggyback off what Jonathan said. So yes, around 97, 2000, that was the last upgrade of that system. The system was originally put into place in 1977. In around 2000 was that when they were moving towards consolidated dispatch, and they did do an upgrade at that point, but it wasn't a complete replacement. So really, we're working, well past its operational life. So we've come to a point now where the components, and this is speaks very highly to the experience and skill that our past radio techs had to be able to keep the system going up until now, really acquiring used components off of sites like eBay, things that are not in production anymore. We're at a point now where things are, they're not only not in production, but you cannot obtain them. And we're at a point of catastrophic failure. There's certain components within the system that if they were to fail, there are no replacements for them. And the system that we're currently using, if you really look at it, it is truly, it's an older antiquated system with true radio components, with tuners and filters, and there's rooms all over the county that are filled with specialized equipment. And what we're talking about now is really coming forward and migrating to a modern system, which really is just a very large computer system, and moving to a P25 trunked system. So kind of moving to where we need to be. And it's not, like Jonathan said, a want, it's a need. There is no ability to continue on with the existing system. And as you heard from Jackie, right, this is a system that truly is the lifeline for our first responder community, fire, EMS, law enforcement, but also a lot of our support functions, courts, jail, county highway. And these are a lot of the key stakeholders that have been thought about as we move forward, and we started to look at putting this out to RFP and developing a new system, making sure it's all encompassing and it addresses all the needs that the county has across every municipality. So it's not just our county highway, it's every highway department, it's transit, it's public health. So we really want to have an all-encompassing system that addresses the needs of everybody throughout Racine County, not just the first responders, but all of those key critical support functions that government provides.
So, go ahead.
Excuse me. Thank you, Deputy. Our system is at dire need then, correct?
Correct.
What about our backup? Who do we have as a backup? I'm the eternal optimist. Ask Jonathan. I'm always upbeat about everything. What if it shuts down? What do we have as a backup right now?
So right now, we have Kenosha County does do some of our backup. We have a current backup system at the city of Racine that we do not use and we have not used for a long time. And right now we are working with a partnership with Kenosha County. They're building out an additional space at their 911 system on 75 and 50. And we will be able to, we want to partner with them and use them as a backup and vice versa.
Thank you. And let's take it one step further. Best case scenario, this is approved today. Timing. A year, 2, 3, 4?
No.
I have no clue.
Just talking with Corporation Council, we had our first meeting with our dispatch team and our vendor, and we want to spend June and July on this, and we want to get rolling and start with the actual start of the infrastructure mode in August. Or
Okay.
as soon as we can.
Thank you.
What I would just say to add to this is, every county has had to go through this, or will have to go through this, or will have to go through this again. We're here to maybe, hopefully say that we will never have to do this again, or at least, for a long, long time. Just happens to fall in our lap. And this is, again, a need. It's what government does. It's the vital function of what government is supposed to do. If you just, thank you. If you just kind of go down, I'll just skip to, the next one.
Can I stop real
Yeah.
quick? Forgive me, I didn't hear, how many calls right now? 800 or 900 a day?
Yes,
Pardon?
yes.
800 to 1,000, but
Oh.
there's roughly 204,000 calls for service.
Okay, and
Yeah.
just Captain Widener kind of spiked my curiosity. If I understand what was said, when the new system is implemented, it will service other departments in the county other than just police and EMS, correct?
Correct.
Is there a number on that? So 800 goes to 1,800? I mean, we're talking about social services, highway, da, da, da.
It's not measured right now. I mean,
Yeah.
those are all systems that we use every day. The jail, the courts,
Yeah,
county highway has their radio system. Those are all things that are used every day. Unfortunately, there's not a metric to measure those by, like right now, how often those are used. With newer technology, we'll be able to measure that,
but
but
are they part of they're not part of the 800
Oh,
or
no.
900 right
No,
now?
no.
Okay. But they are part of the program every day.
yes.
Thank you.
So if,
May
we-
I ask one more question?
of course, you can ask more than one if you want.
I might, thank you. I don't know if you're gonna get to it or not, but my question is infrastructure. We talking, software, hardware, buildings, what's all included in the infrastructure?
So, the answer is yes. It's towers, it's replacement of towers, it's adding on potentially to existing towers. We have right now, smaller municipalities cannot, well, I'll let Jim talk about the radio situation because that's a second component of this. But if you look at this slide right here, Supervisor Wish, that kind of gives you your part answer of what we need to build out.
So here, so when we look at this system and we put out the RFP, it really kind of breaks into two components. We have the core infrastructure, the core, and then all of the infrastructure that kind of builds that out. So that provides radio signals throughout and coverage throughout the county. Here you can see this is our current footprint of radio towers that are all interconnected throughout Racine County. So we have that component, and then we have the peripherals. So the peripherals being radios, both the portables that we carry on our person and then the mobiles that are in our squad cars or fire trucks or EMS rigs. So with this, with the core system, there is a core, which is it basically is the large head end or computer network that is going to run the system. And then we have all of the interconnected towers that then broadcast out everything throughout the county. Now here we have existing infrastructure within the county with our current system, and our goal is to reutilize as much of this core infrastructure as we can from these physical sites and these locations. They obviously all need to have upgraded new technology and equipment put into them, but from a site standpoint, we want to reutilize as much as we possibly can. The county is absolutely committed, right? This is the core of the system that's needed to continue on and to function. The second piece are the radios. So really, we talk about peripherals. There's more than just radios, but radios make up the bulk of what it is. We're talking portables and mobiles. And this is where it becomes a large cost and a financial difficulty for a lot of the municipalities. Because of the system that we're going to be moving to, the majority of radios that are currently in use within the county and both fire, EMS, and law enforcement all need to be replaced. Now, these costs, and we've, throughout this entire process, as Jonathan said, this has been over a 2-year process that we've been going through, and it's been in heavy communication with all the municipal leadership from the municipalities across the county, as well as the first responder leadership, all of the fire chiefs, the EMS chiefs, the law enforcement chiefs, and kind of talking through what the needs are and making sure that we're addressing everything, all these needs across the board. So with this, what the county is looking at doing is, because of this potential very large fiscal impact on the municipalities and the difficulty in them really
Able to
meeting
pay
it, looking at providing a credit to each municipality so that they could purchase a baseline mid-tier radio to work on the system. So they could take that credit. If they wanted to scale it up, they could scale it up, but this at least allows them to function and to utilize the new system.
So as an example, Michigan and I mean, they can be mad at me, I guess, but Michigan and other municipalities, some are for-profit, some are nonprofit, some are municipally served. But the point is, with the technology and with the radios they have, there is no way that these smaller rescue operations, they can't afford the radios. They're running, their budgets just won't allow for that. So, Jackie, the chief deputy and I, how do we solve that? Well, we solve it by saying, okay, what is the basic cost of a radio? Let's just say it's $5,500. Okay, we're not paying for the bells and whistles. If the city of Racine wants bells and whistles on their radio, well, then they can pay for that. But what we will give is a credit for a basic radio that will allow them to operate in this new 911 system.
So we would buy the radios, and what's the credit involved? What are you giving for what we're getting?
Well, we don't know what the actual cost of the radio, so I'm surmising it's about $5,500 per radio for a basic radio. So if Dover needed 15 radios, I don't know what they need, but let's just say it's 15. 5,500 times 15 is what their allotment would
And this would be in working with the vendor. So giving a credit to the vendor saying that, like,
Yeah.
as example, Michigan or Waterford fire departments, they have X amount of dollars that allows them to purchase a baseline of radios to be able to function and operate as a first responder organization on the new system. So there are different tiers of radios that are available, low tier, mid tier, high tier, and obviously they come with different functionality. Now, some agencies may want very high tier, expensive radios. Others may want to have lower tier radios. So the compromise that the county has agreed upon, or would like to move forward with is
We're
providing a
proposing.
baseline, right? That's proposal to move forward is a baseline radio to operate on the system. So not having that fiscal burden would fall to each municipality, and it is a very large price point.
It becomes something that we're gonna spend all this money, and some municipalities are EMT entities or fire and rescue entities, maybe they can afford it. Well, maybe they'll be in the system and some won't. It just doesn't work that way. So do I wanna do that? No, but is it the best way to do it in the most efficient and economical way and to get this thing where we need it to be? It's the right way to do it.
Okay, so assuming we're getting the radios and assuming that these municipalities are going to want that radio
You have to have the radio.
in order to be a part of the program.
Yes.
But if they don't opt to do that, what happens to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have to.
They would not be able to function on
And
the
then what
new
does
system.
the county get in return? Do we get anything from these municipalities for giving them radios?
Well,
There's no
we're
buy-
getting a
okay.
911 system we can't, I don't look at this in supervisor wish and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and you can disagree with how I'm looking at it this way and there'll be merit to your argument, but the fact of the matter is, there are fire and rescue entities that can barely afford to change their tires on their fire engine, let alone buy new radios. So, I look at this as residents in the village of Waterford who are paying for that service. I look at them as county residents, and this is a county-run EMT system, and that's how we should do it.
Once we get the 911 system, you were referring to Public Works and other type lower level emergency, non-emergency kind of communications.
Sure. Critical governmental function.
Yeah, now, will they be plunked into this also somewhere in the future, or is that?
So yeah, so as this system is developed and designed, the RFP has gone out. We have issued the award letter to the vendor, and we are now beginning to go into negotiations. That has just begun, and we're beginning to move forward on that. And with that, once that's completed, we'll be getting into the specifics on system design. But that was the goal, is to bring everybody into one singular system. And to your question that you asked before, now, is this going to be a massive uptick of calls for service that are being run through the dispatch center? No, not necessarily. So these systems, like the jail exists, it runs on our current system, so does the court functions. They do not run through dispatch. They're not going in, they're not interacting with the dispatcher, but they are utilizing the core radio system to communicate back and forth internally within these environments. So obviously you've heard a lot about the new YDCC. This is going to be another correctional facility that's going to come online. It's going to have to utilize this system as well. So we want to have one system, not multiple systems. And that's where we currently find ourselves. Not only is our system extraordinarily antiquated and at, a point of critical failure, we have a hodgepodge of approximately 3 different types of systems and different radio frequencies that are currently in use throughout Racine County. The goal is to get to one system that's integrated that everybody can work off of.
And then would, in the disaster, I go back to 2008, where you may need to talk to the Village of Waterford's Public Works from the town of Norway or the city of Racine. This has a capability of doing that
So
when we get to
yes,
that.
being on one singular system, we have a much greater ability for interoperability
Right.
amongst everybody.
Thank you.
So, yes, Scott.
Thank you. Just a quick question. With technology ever changing and ever evolving, this new system that we're looking at, is it going to be easier to update? And is it going to be easier to prolong the life expectancy as we go forward? Just like, we're trying to keep putting Band-Aids on this old system. Do we have an estimated timeline of how long this new system will last? And is it going to be easier to update as we move forward?
It will be easier to update as we move forward, and definitely as we move forward with the development of this and with all of these projects that we're discussing tonight, right? That is the goal, is to build for the future and to make sure that we're future-proofing these projects as much as we possibly can. There are going to be, end of life, terms that are going to be put on any type of system like this. Again, we're migrating from a true kind of a ham radio kind of system, radio system, to something that is very much a large computer. So just as you would have to do upgrades on your normal your computer at home with your Windows 95 upgrade, you would have to do upgrades to this system and replace components of it as it continues. But we're looking at options that will give us the longest life possible and prolong that shelf life for this system as best we can.
The goal is for Racine County never to be put in this position again. So while, if, in 5 years or 10 years, we've got to add on something or replace something, yeah, that's part of the system, but we'll never have to build a brand new system at at this kind of cost again.
Thank you.
So, just kind of moving forward here. That leads us to the Public Safety Center. And why is this important? Well, for a number of reasons, but first and foremost, the 911 system and the technology we're talking about, you really can't run it out of our current facility without significant millions of dollars of upgrade. Because the building was built in the, I think it was late 60s, early 70s after this building was built, but the technology doesn't work. Plus, we have HVAC systems. We've got millions of dollars that we would need to fix this. And we need an emergency operations center. That's right now down in our jail. Public Safety Center would do 3 things. One, we'd house our 911 operations out of there. We'd have an emergency operations center out of there. And then it would be a place for West End Sheriff's Office, like we have at the substation right over there. So it'd be 3. And then we hope that we can work with other municipalities, whether it's putting it where our substation now is or putting it in a location where we can coordinate with other services. That would be the goal. But it's really, if we don't build this, we're really throwing good money after bad money into a building that's completely outdated. Anything else you want to add?
So like Jonathan said, this is, consolidating, our resources, from a county perspective, and really bringing people together and having greater efficiency overall. Currently, like from the sheriff's office perspective, we're spread out throughout the county. We have resources that are east at the law enforcement center, the middle of the patrol station, at the west at various satellite stations. It's really about consolidating a lot of those resources and bringing critical services such as joint dispatch as well as emergency management really together, and then looking for additional municipal partnerships as we move down the line. Now, this may be the first time many of you are hearing about looking at, the rebuilding or new construction for some of these facilities. But really, this is something that the conversation started on back in 2015, 2016, where the county actually hired venture architects to conduct a countywide facility study. Now, this was completed at that time because of the condition and the age of basically the county infrastructure as a whole, and looking at that. And what they did is they worked with every county department and what their needs were, and then looked at their physical infrastructure where they are currently housed, and then looked at and made recommendations as far as what the path was moving forward and how we could have greater synergy amongst the county departments, as well as, delivery of service to the community. So really, some of this is kind of resurrecting what those plans were. And during those plans, the Public Safety Center was one of the buildings that was prioritized as a need because of the condition. And as Jonathan mentioned, the infrastructure there is within the next couple of years is going to need millions of dollars of upgrade, everything from the roof to the floor to plumbing to HVAC that is going to be needed just to maintain that building, which is drastically undersized, especially as we look at the addition of critical services with dispatch as emergency management and the sheriff's office.
Question. 2020 was 4 years ago. So have you looked, or are you in the process of looking at what the costs involved now or versus 2020?
So we currently, yes, so we work very closely with finance, and finance has been able to do a good deal of research and looking at comparable buildings, leveraging current experience with construction projects and what that construction costs and the increase. Obviously, across the board, we've been back here over the last couple of years discussing on how cost increases have gone up, and they absolutely have, right? Since 2020, there's been massive increases when it comes to that. But we currently have put out an RFP for the design services. And again, this is going to help guide us forward as we start to take those plans and start to dust them off, look at them, reevaluate them, and then to scale them appropriately, and then get a better idea of what those costs look like. But the estimates that are included in this PowerPoint for what the goal is to bond for is based off of the research that has been done.
Last thing I want to mention is that, back to the venture architect, the growth of the county, I know this will probably surprise you, but it's coming out this way. The growth isn't on the east end of the county. So as we talk about, population gains and losses, this is kind of getting out in front of that. Because I think Venture did an estimate of what the population would be in 20 years from now, basically on the west end. He says it's significant growth. So this also makes a lot of sense from where the services will be needed. I would just ask, if you haven't seen our Emergency Operations Center, I would take a tour of that. It's in the jail. It's not well placed. A lot of our needs for an EOC have really come out on this area and then the west end of the county. And when you're operating it down by the east end, makes for some logistic challenges, as the chief deputy can attest to. And then the other point is, I know some of you, but probably not all of you have not been in our substation. I'd ask you, whether it's through the sheriff's department or through Jackie, is to take a tour, and you can kind of get a feel of just how antiquated that building is. And again, the big piece here is yes, it needs millions of dollars of upgrades, but it's also the technology that we're going to need for 911. That building will not be able to handle that. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to, again, put good money after bad money. Any questions on the first two?
I do.
Yeah.
So you mentioned briefly when Supervisor Trotter asked about the backup in Kenosha. So if Kenosha fails, you mentioned that we have something in the city of Racine that we do not use. Is it usable and we're just not
Yeah.
using it?
Yeah.
Or,
Use it on a regular basis. We
Okay.
test it on a regular basis and we do most of our training out of there.
all right,
So
thank you.
it's ready to be used at any time.
Okay, thank you. And then skipping to the Public Safety Center, I saw a map. I saw it too late to figure out where. Nope, two more that way,
The other way?
the other way, right there.
That's just a map of the county. It's not a map of the.
That's the Ives Grove complex that.
That's what I thought. I didn't know if you had already like figured out where it was going to.
No, so what, I don't wanna, expound too much on the location, but the location would be with either, it could potentially be right where the substation is now or adjacent to it as we build that out. Or it could be in a place if, that makes sense, that would be cost effective near that location. So it'll be somewhere within the mile radius of the current substation. Any other questions on that? All right, Gwen, why don't we come on up and then we'll talk about, because I'm sure, and, you know, I'm sure there'll be questions on the financing and how, what we did with ARPA. I've said this probably for the last few years, our mental health services are trifurcated. We've increased our mental health services by over 500% the last few years, so that's good news, but we are out of space. We pay a lot of money in rent to a facility that is, and I know most of you have been there, Supervisor Trotter can attest, it's quite frankly almost embarrassing when you really look at it in terms of the, the, the needed services that we provide out of that building and just the physical condition of it. We have located this. I don't know if I have to retell the story, but we've got a location. We bought the property. We tore down, Branham lumber, which was a complete eyesore and a haven for nefarious activities. The neighbors are so glad that we did that. You know, after many discussions with the city of Racine, they approved the rezone last Tuesday. I was at that meeting. I'll refrain from the logistics of that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. But they did approve the rezoning for it. Gwen, why don't you talk about just what the county has approved in the terms of that, the building, but the ARPA money and then the additional?
Sure. So in the 2024 budget, we included about $14.5 million of ARPA. It's like 14,491,000 or something. That was the remaining amount of ARPA from our original allocation of 38 million. And that got us started, that funding and that approval got us started on hiring the architect firm, the construction firm, and to get started on the designs, which is in process right now. We needed that for the approval, which we got last week on the permit. The remaining, so the total cost of the project is 37, but you've already allocated 14.5 to it. So what we're looking for approval would be about 23 million. That would cover the rest of the project as well as the fourth floor renovation at the Human Services 1717 Taylor Avenue building.
Can I
Yeah.
expound on that? So right now, our juvenile detention center is on the fourth floor of the Human Services building. That obviously is gonna be moved. And so we'll have a detention center that is located that will be obsolete. And if you look at how you remove all that steel in that building, you have to take the roof off and you've got to take cranes and you've got to lift that steel out of the building. Quite expensive. And then we've instructed our staff, and this could be, this doesn't have to be in conjunction, it could be another phase. But we want to utilize that space eventually, for, human services. But that is in conjunction with the mental health building. So the 37 million covers both.
Is it worth doing? Like, it sounds expensive to gain a floor back of the building, but we're also, putting money into new construction throughout the county. I mean, maybe it's better to just leave it alone. Just an idea.
Yeah, I mean, if I could respond to that, it's 22,000 of usable space that we would just be leaving. We could rent it out and, partner with the area partners. We do that already at Human Services, that we do have some partners that we work with in there, but you have to put the money in to get it set up to do it.
How much for that renovation?
It's included in the 5. Yeah, so 18 million is what we need for the rest of the
Mental health,
mental
and then
health
another
building.
5 for that.
And then another 5, and that would be, and we have preliminary quotes on what it would be to get the jail cell, or not jail cell, sorry, the cells out, the roof off, all of that kind of stuff. We would need to get a new quote. Those were preliminary, but the vast majority of it would be the renovation costs, because you need a place to put Meals on Wheels. They'll no longer be at the Dominic building, and there is not space for them, nor does it make sense for the design for them to meet in the new behavioral health building. They need a place to go. Taylor's the right place for it, but they need a kitchen. There are things that are needed to be able to do those operations. I do think that this is the right move. We would
So-
be losing a lot of space if we didn't.
So, but Supervisor Ekman, you bring up a good question, and I've assembled a team that is talking about the fourth floor corporation council, human services director, finance director, and a few others. And we've talked about just what does that look like on the fourth floor. They're going to come back with some recommendations, moving forward. So, with that, I can tell you, I kind of addressed this in the state of the county, but I really wanted you to hear from Yelena here, our mental health.
Administrator.
Yeah, what's your title these days? Administrator?
Disability Services Administrator.
Yeah. But I just want you to hear from her just on the increase that they've seen in the last few years, and their inability to really continue to deliver. They deliver excellent services, and you can look at the numbers and the data compared to other counties. And again, we're the only county that's really had a significant increase like we have in the amount of people that we're serving. But I just want to hear from her on just kind of some of the challenges they have right now, especially out of Dominic.
So as far as, obviously, we can see the stats in 1 in 10 teens have attempted suicide in the last 3 years. Our CCS program continues to grow with the obvious need that's there for mental health services, our clinic services along with that. With the clinic services, we were able to do the renovation to the clinic to provide more space for providers and therapists, so we are set there. The struggle that we have right now is no consumers can currently access the Dominic building because there's no place to meet with those individuals unless it's an adult accessing care at sale, crisis stabilization services. So right now, we are tasked with the job of trying to have them find meeting space at the Taylor Avenue building, which can be quite difficult at sometimes. The approach for CCS is obviously trying to meet in the community.
CCS is Comprehensive Community Services.
So trying to meet in the community, but I think it's an ongoing issue with staff retention, especially with the current site. The professionalism and not being able to meet with individuals in the actual building is an ongoing struggle that we do have with staff retention.
So the goal, as I stated, and I've stated probably for the last 9 years, is anybody who needs mental health services should be able to access mental health services. And those services they access should be of high quality. That is our goal. We are really having challenges in terms of the quality aspect in some areas of mental health service. CCS is really our only mental health service that provides services to youth. We do have a partnership with Kenosha County. I think we're we're the only counties that have consolidated that. I could be wrong, but
You're
we'll
correct.
say I'm right. And so that's really cool, but I can tell you, 1 in 10 teens have attempted suicide in the last 3 years. I mean, that should all be a warning sign for all of us if we don't do anything. That is a number that is shameful in how this country, how this state, and how our county treat our youth says something about us. And I for one, that should not be good enough. We need to do better. All right. The other point, and Supervisor Ekman probably will bring it up, is do I'll use an example of EMS. There are certain entities in the county that think they need a new firehouse. And maybe they do and maybe they don't. But the problem is they still can't get technicians to be in the firehouse. So you have the same problem, but just in a brand new house. And so for us, you're gonna ask, well, if you build this building and you have a shortage of practitioners, are you gonna have a new building and still have a practitioner issue? And that challenge will always be there, obviously. But I can tell you, we have a better chance to optimize who people wanting to be here and who we hire with a facility and a county that's putting mental health as a priority rather than on the back burner. And what we have now is a place at Dominic in particular that it's going to be hard to attract. Hey, come and work for Racine County. Mental health is our priority. And oh, by the way, you can't meet with your clients. So that's just an example of kind of the challenges that we have. Again, I mentioned fentanyl, fentanyl overdoses. I always look at it this way, most of I love sports. And, the vernacular that I use is if you're not winning, you're losing. And right now we're not winning. And that's just the fact. I don't know of another county that is winning or another state, but we're not winning. And is that something to say, you know what? Nobody else is winning, so do we really want to be in the game? And I definitely want to be in the game and fight for, reducing and eliminating this scourge that we have. It knows no bounds of municipality. It knows no bound of any socioeconomic status. It knows no bounds of race or age. All the fentanyl overdoses that you see are of different ages, demographics, male, female, young, middle-aged, old. So this is increasing the new synthetic fentanyl that's coming over the border is even more powerful and even cheaper to buy. And with this new building, this is a start to fight that scourge and actually start winning. So potentially in 2 years, that 567 hopefully will be less and we can say we're winning.
So can I add in right
Yeah,
there? So the opioid crisis has obviously affected a tremendous amount of families here in Racine County. To add to that number, those are actual incident calls for EMS services of overdoses. Since 2020, over 200 people in Racine County have actually died from opioid use. According to the 2021 needs assessment completed by DHS, Department of Human Services, or Health Services, excuse me, Racine County ranks 4th in the state for high substance use disorder intervention needs. With that being said, obviously we take a look at what behavioral health services currently provides. We do provide community outreach events, education. We obviously provide free Narcan and fentanyl test strips, outpatient treatment services, and medication assisted treatment, including intensive outpatient programs and actually one-on-one counseling. Per month, we're currently providing 120 Narcan kits on average, which include 2 doses in each box, and about 400 fentanyl test strips. I think the larger picture in this is the gap in services. When you think of treatment from a SUD perspective, you think of outpatient services, you think of AA, NA meetings, and then you move on up and needing more intensive outpatient programming, possibly hospitalization for detox services. And then there's that gap in service when you look at residential service needs. So what's currently happening with that gap is when individuals have to go through those with detox treatment in the hospitals. Once they exit the hospital, there is no residential treatment facility to put those individuals or refer them to. If we look at the closest residential facilities and we look at a 40-mile radius of Racine County, there is not one residential treatment facility. Sometimes they are mistaken with sober living houses, which are not the same. Residential actually in the residential site that we are trying to propose here would actually provide 20 hours of per week to each resident that is at that treatment facility to receive treatment services. With that being said, on top of that, as far as the closest Salvation Armies that offer residential services, there is one in Milwaukee County. The other one is in Zion, Illinois. Obviously, sometimes individuals do not want to leave the county for that very reason. And the other one is Hope that is actually in Waukesha County. So you can definitely see that there's a gap in services provided and access to residential care. DHS has actually identified SUD residential programs as the third largest gap in SUD services in general. And at any given time, there is about 40 people in Racine County that are requiring residential treatment services and have no access or capability to go to those services, especially if there's an insurance need there.
So we are in
Mhm.
we are in unprecedented times. I don't think any of us, when we were 20 years old, 30 years old, whatever age, to say, hey, we'll probably have a Narcan vending machine in the DMV office in Sturtevant, and people go there and get the Narcan. It's in Sturtevant. I mean, the city of Racine has gratefully has put a Narcan vending machine in the transportation center that's being used. It's not, this is something I never would have even thought imaginable. And these vending machines are being used. We have them at Taylor Avenue as well. That's being used. We get requests every day for fentanyl strips. Every day, people come in for fentanyl strips. So this isn't just, a problem that we can, look the other way and, nothing to see here. We want to address it. That's kind of so I will tell you, we went out for 2 days in Washington to look at, the state of Washington has probably the best mental health statewide system in the country. We went out and looked at 3 or 4 facilities. We got a good idea. There's one in Denver that the Human Services Director and I are gonna go to, and they have visits all the time. They could only fit us in on the 5th of July. So we're going out there for 1 day to look at their site. But I can tell you, we've done extensive research. We've hired the architect, who's also the same architect that's done the youth center. They went out and visited as well. So we feel like we've done the due diligence, we've done the research, we've looked at examples, and we feel like we're gonna have a really good facility that's gonna address a lot of these issues. You wanna talk about this a little bit?
So as far as a residential treatment facility, many people ask, what will this actually provide? Obviously, the 24/7 structure, the goal of the treatment facility is to get the individual back to a functional level in society, meaning they're able to maintain their sobriety, they're able to, connect with the resources, housing, gain reasonable employment. Many individuals that are in a residential are expected to stay for about a 60-day period. In that 60-day period, those individuals are able to come and go for employment, which tries to normalize and kind of ease that transition process. We've already touched on the 40-mile gap of no residential here in Racine County and the residents that are in need.
So that concludes the second part of what I wanted to address you with. And the third is then the ice rink. I am losing my voice here quickly. So I will ask Corporation Council to fill in, but I have enough left to give you a little bit of the background. In 2000-ish, 2, 3, Racine County was on the precipice of building a indoor ice center. It fell short at the very end for a number of reasons. One reason was that a particular facility was going to be built in Oak Creek or South Milwaukee. And the county board at that time felt like, well, that was close enough. And there's probably merit to that argument. Unfortunately, it never got built. So, we are a county that doesn't have an ice rink or any indoor ice opportunity for our residents. But I also feel like, in terms of the wants or need, that the private sector really needs to step up or private citizens or the private sector need to step up. And that's been my position. It was my position at Pritchard Park. It's been my position for quality of amenities. We need to leverage money. We did it in Waterford. We did it in Union Grove a couple of times. We've done it in the city of Racine. So we've been able to really leverage resources, and this is another example of that. So if you look at, we went out for a request for proposal. You can see kind of the public and the private differential in terms of the budget. And Corporation Council and myself and a few others, we have visited a couple of the facilities, as well as there's a Racine County Ice Group, RCIC, that has also been working with us. They are well versed in ice and ice rinks. So that's kind of the difference here. What we do know, and then I'm going to turn this over to Corporation Council, is that our park system it was in disarray 10 years ago. In fact, we if you looked at other counties, and I have not been to all 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, but our park system was in disarray, and we've done a lot to turn that around. But then COVID happened, and our parks really took on a focus that I don't think has ever happened before, because people wanted to use the amenities and whatnot. And we've done a great job. If you look at Corey Lake, if you look at Waterford, if you look at Union Grove, if you look at Burlington, we've really done a great job of leveraging money and really turning our park system around. And to me, our park system, doesn't have to be necessarily a county park. Nobody is driving around Racine County and saying, well, that's a city of Racine Park. We don't want to go there. We only want to go to Mount Pleasant Parks. They don't care. So my philosophy has always been, if we can leverage money and create a quality of amenity, and if it's not at a county park, that's okay. And that's, I think, been proven to do well for us in Racine County. If you look at it from a public health lens, well, I'll turn it over to Michael, if you don't mind, Michael, and just kind of finish up here a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you to the county board and the chairman and to the county executive. So I'll repeat a little bit of what the county executive touched upon, and taking a few steps back, reminding the board of, there was a resolution that was authorized 2023-12S. And in that resolution, the county expressed and went on record with its support of that 501c3 that the county executive referenced, the Racine County Ice Center Incorporated. This is an organization of folks who are, many of whom are in the room. They've appeared periodically over recent months in offering public comments on the subject, but they were organized primarily to raise money for supporting the design, the construction, the operation, and the maintenance of an indoor community ice arena or facility within Racine County. Since that resolution in support, the RCIC folks have had great success based on the level of interest and the willingness of individuals and organizations to help fund this venture. And the RCIC expects to secure and receive pledges. You saw a figure up on the screen in excess of $8 million. What we've been having discussions with that organization about is that one of the challenges with fundraising is that people may make a pledge to support. But that's very different and treated differently by the courts than a contract. And so there's tremendous risk, and there really be, in my eyes, undue risk for the county to go out and to do a bond issuance for what we're proposing or what we think would be suitable here of $5 million based only on pledges of support. And so what we're discussing with the RCIC folks and working through the logistics of this is to demonstrate that this is real money that has not only been pledged, but is there and ready to be transferred to the county, of creating an escrow account whereby the RCIC would receive funds. They would place those funds into escrow, and we would have an escrow agreement. We're working through the details of that upon the county achieving certain benchmarks, the engagement of architect, the engagement of construction management firm, upon achieving and meeting those milestones, that money that's been sitting in escrow would be ready then to be released to the county. So I've been working closely with our finance director. We've been working in turn with our financial advisors and bond counsel, and we're comfortable with recommending that as a path if ultimately the board is supportive of putting $5 million towards this project, to along with that $8 million or so that's been raised privately to meet the needs for this roughly $13 million facility that would include, at a minimum, a single NHL sheet of ice, approximately 6 locker rooms, spectator seating for, I think it's between 250, 500 people, offices, a lobby, concessions, equipment rental, pro shop, the ventilation system for periods of high humidity, parking. So we're in that process. The county executive referenced of, we have an RFP out to select and identify an architectural team to assist in the design of this type of facility, and that's going to be phased out over a period of time to work with that entity to get a better idea of the true cost. We think that 13 million is a fair number. That's not a number that we just pulled from the sky. It was working closely with a number of entities. So we've identified that amount that would be necessary to build that bare bones type of facility. But we're also exploring potential add-ons that could be included, and including, designing the facility such that if needed, and if there was a need from the community, that you could add a second sheet of ice without completely redesigning the facility. It would go and work closely in tandem with the facility that we designed. I see on the screen site location. We're not yet in a position where we're prepared to recommend for authorization by the county board a specific location. You'll recall that 2 of the county-owned sites that are under consideration are Franksville Memorial Park and Haven Park, both centrally located parks that would, serve as a natural destination for all of the county to utilize this ice center. But we're not yet in a position where we're prepared to recommend for authorization either, or any other site for that matter. But that's something that, prior to finalizing the design, prior to going out to bid and make award for the actual construction work, we would need to have settled upon and finalized a location by that time. In addition to the folks that the county executive mentioned who've been working closely on this in the RCIC, you'll see Lynn Bame in the back in the gallery, who works closely with our aquatic center, brings a tremendous amount of expertise on ice centers as well. She was instrumental in the Kenosha site and has really been a key member of our team, has helped out in visiting some of these facilities. Also, Jeff Langley in public health. It's axiomatic that any sort of recreational activity, exercise, not only for the youth, but also for really for any member living in the county, any age, that sort of activity, that recreational activity, has a positive public health impact, that there are outcomes that have a public health consideration that we're mindful of, and economic development. There's a host of reasons why this makes sense, along with some of those other recreational opportunities that the county executive spoke to. So that leads into the screen that we see up here, and then we can kind of take questions on both, or the county executive if you want to interject.
I would just add, that what some of you walked in late, so I just want to, before we get to the marina, we've covered 911, we've covered an emergency operations center or law enforcement, safety building. We covered the mental health, the ice, and now the Reef Point Marina. And you're going to hear more about the Reef Point Marina um, in terms of getting into the weeds and the details of that project in 2 weeks by F3, the organization that we contract out that runs our marina. But just as an aside, the 32.5 million would be a phased project. Number one, this would not be all completed at one time. So I just want everybody to, unlike the other projects, this one would be phased. And the ice could potentially be phased as well. But look, the Reef Point Marina was, as I stated earlier, it was in the late 80s when it was built. It's not ADA compliant. The DNR has said our fuel tanks are not in compliance with what marinas should have, and could be an environmental factor on Lake Michigan. And quite frankly, the marina business has changed since COVID, and even really before COVID, where if you look at those slips, right now we have about 900 slips, give or take, in our marina. And we have about 580 to 600, correct, Michael, that are in use. And the changing dynamics of boating, and I don't boat, but is larger boats and larger slips in less number of slips. And that does two things. It generates more revenue, but it also recession proofs the marina. So if we hit a huge recession at some point, the marina by and large would be recession proof, because those who have the type of boats that that would be on this marina with the bigger slips, they have the boats, they want to use it, and they can still, even with a recession, still be able to utilize that, where some of these mid-size and smaller boats, that just isn't the case. And those are analysis and studies, not just Jonathan Delagrave's opinion. So you'll hear more about the marina. But, again, you talk about wants and needs, and you talk about 911. You talk about mental health, you talk about ice, you talk about a marina. You guys, as a county board supervisor, you have your district, and then you have to look at in terms of what's best for the whole county. And, you've got to weigh that balance. There's a balance there. I fortunately look at it from a county-wide perspective. You'll hear a lot of what the economic returns are on the marina for the county of Racine, and then probably in particular the city of Racine. And just in terms of the benefits of downtown, a lot of these boaters are from out. Well, there you go. There you go. Thanks. But what I would tell you is that, lost my train of thought here, but you'll hear more about just the needs and kind of what the phased projects are with the marina. I will tell you that part of what we would like to do at the marina is really activate the water for the general public and non-boaters. And there's a small project within that's not very expensive that would activate that. So if you don't own a boat, you'll still want to maybe potentially go down to the marina and enjoy it. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I think I covered that without realizing we had a slide on it. So that's what we have this summer. I've spent the last hour and 5 minutes. I wanted you to hear particularly from Chief Deputy Widener, Director Bratz, and Yelena. What's your title again? Okay. But because it's easy to hear from me, but I do, you know, ultimately, you know, staff is on the front lines. But the last thing I would leave is that we can do great things here. If Waukesha County can do $15 million remodel of a courthouse, you know, that you can argue our wants and needs, and, you know, the county executive would tell you that's a need for them. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that, but, you know, these are what government does in most cases with these projects, and we're capable of doing big things. And ultimately, the buck stops with me, and I am the one to take responsibility for this. And we'll learn more about the financing in a couple weeks. But, you know, we are, again, back to the state of the county, and then I'll end it, but we are 72 out of 72 in per capita spending. We don't have alternative revenue that 68, soon to be 70 other counties will have by the end of the year. So by the end of the year, we'll be one of two that don't have the alternative revenue. And we need to invest in ourselves. You know, we can say that we're proud of, you know, how we managed a 911 system you know, if you want to say 1977, but I'll say 1998, for the better part of 25 years. But we have to modernize. And, you know, there's going to be some tough decisions that each of you are going to have to weigh and make. But I'm hoping that we can come to a general consensus and tell our citizens that, yes, we had to invest in this, but we're investing in ourselves. We're no longer going to be investing in other counties. And to me, we need to take that first step. Any other questions on the last hour and 10 minutes? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Executive, I just want to thank you for this excellent update and overview. It really shows how much work your staff has been doing, and I think we are very fortunate that you have done all this groundwork. One question I have is, you know, we have the big numbers. When I'm really curious about some of the sub numbers on each of those, like, is it practical for us to get something a little more detailed in the near future, or what is your outline of
Yeah, so in 2 weeks, we're going to discuss the financing and kind of breaking it down in terms of what we need to do in particular for each of the projects. Some of them can be phased, some of them can't be. But what I thought we would do is hopefully in 2 weeks, as best we can, our finance director is working tirelessly day and night on this, and has had to put up with me. So Gwen, we don't pay you enough. But ultimately, what we want to do is get you a bottom line number on all of this. And then what can be phased and what we have to do in the immediacy. In the immediacy is the 25 budget and then the 26, 27 budget. But I don't foresee maybe the Marino, Michael, but I don't foresee any of this going out more than 2 to 3 years. The Marino might be a 4-phase project that could extend beyond 3 years. Maybe that's 5 or 6, but we will have that information for you, if that's what you're looking for.
exactly?
Yeah.
And then for the chair of the county board, just a question of, is there some thought about timing, you know, maybe starting this a little bit later for more supervisor participation?
Yeah, we can discuss that and understand
Yeah,
that.
maybe pull the board tonight, even at the end of the meeting or something.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just address that, we've already put notice out because there is a public hearing component for that meeting on the 25th. And so that notice has gone out for 5 PM. It's the night of a county board meeting that would be following at 6:30. But again, that's just to introduce further the various subjects and the potential resolutions. They would still have the first readings and second reading over the course of the full month of July.
And Chairman, if I can just note, so the meeting that the county executive is talking about with the financial advisors who will be talking specifically about the finances related to this. That'll be next week at the normally scheduled finance committee meeting, finance and human resources at 5 PM, but we're going to be opening a virtual option. So if there are supervisors who are unable to attend, they can join in virtually. We want to make this as accessible as possible for it.
Thank you.
So all I would say is that we, as best we can, we want maximum attendance and maximum input. These are very huge projects. Again, I don't think the county has ever really taken the, uh, this all on in such a large scale. But, we can do big things and we can be responsible for, in terms of what the taxpayers and their ability to pay. That's always going to be the top priority for me in all of this, in what we can do to mitigate as much as we possibly can on their backs. With that, yes.
Just for clarification and under the guise, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Am I understanding this correctly? The capital projects are gonna be presented to this body in total, regardless how they're delivered? I mean, are we gonna vote on the bottom number of, when we add all these up?
So what we're going to do is, the month of June is going to be discussion, it's going to be information. But what we hope is that, once you hear what the financing in terms of the bottom line and the phases is, what we hope is the county board comes to some pragmatic conclusion on moving these projects forward. And then, so that's one piece to this. And then the other piece is then in the 25 budget that I present is based on what you guys have approved.
And I'll just add that to your question, there would be 5 separate resolutions for the 5 different
Yeah.
projects. That's what's
Thank
envisioned
you.
at this time.
And to note with that, there will also be 5 separate funding resolutions that would set the parameters or the initial terms for those.
Yeah, that's what, I didn't understand your question, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all I was, thank you very much.
What I would just, again, conclude here is that, I told you that when at the state of the county that this is going to be a big summer and we need to, participate, discuss, opine. And I'm ready for that. I got one last battle in me. This is it. I think it's important. And it's not important. It's paramount to how we move forward as a county for the next 20 years. So I hope that everybody is engaged. My office is ready to answer questions either through me directly or I'll get you the answer. But that's where we're at. So I hope this was beneficial tonight. This is, I know there are some new county board supervisors that are relatively new, but we've been talking about this for those of you that have been here for a while, for a better part of 2 to 3 years. So we've done a lot of groundwork. We've done the due diligence, and now we're bringing you what we've concluded are the best options.
Well, thank you. And thanks for all your work, Jonathan, and your staff. We are adjourned. All righty. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The opening prayer? No? Okay, well, we'll stand for silent prayer. Okay, all righty. Supervisor Rutkowski.
So these are words by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who once came to Racine and gave a lecture at Racine College in 1860. His thoughts on success: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded.
And the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4, public comment. Pursuant to section 271 of the Racine County Court of Ordinance, each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. We've got 3 speakers here. Ann Frall, you come up, give your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Ann Fall. I live in Mount Pleasant. I have to change right away here. My family has been involved with ice hockey since about 1990. My sons played in Kenosha at an ice rink just off of Highway 50, and it meant many long trips for hockey practices and games each week. Kenosha was the recipient of all our money during practices and games. If we would go get some groceries or go to a store to do some shopping or Lowe's, and it all benefited Kenosha County. So here we are in 2024 and soon 2025, and this is the third time that citizens have tried to build an ice arena here in Racine County. My late husband was involved in the first committee and the second committee, and we lived this day and night for a long time. So this is the jersey the second committee had made for the hockey team to play a couple of games in hopes to win favor for the new ice arena. So when my son was then going to high school at Park High, there was the usual honor ceremony in the auditorium for all the students that were involved in athletics. And he came home and he mentioned how upset he was because hockey, of course, was not mentioned. And all those trips we made everywhere for practices and games didn't count a bit in his school. He would have much preferred to play for his school team and his community. So it wasn't possible. So also, we can no longer rely on cold winters to provide our kids with ice outside. And I ask you now, please, to vote for this ice arena when the time comes, so our Racine students have a chance to try all the ice sports, not just hockey. There's all the others as well. And hopefully someday there would be a unified Racine high school hockey team like there is down in Kenosha now, and they can play together. Or maybe some lucky skater would qualify the Olympics as a result of coming to the Racine Ice Arena. Okay, so we're in the middle of large school improvements. We've gotten swimming pools, gymnasiums, football and soccer fields improved. Let's take all this wonderful improvement that's gone on in Racine and have an ice arena. For years, okay, thank you very much, and I hope you will vote for the arena.
Second, public's comments tonight is Rhodes Wait.
Hello, my name is Rhodes Waite. I live in Caledonia, Wisconsin. I moved here from Wisconsin and from Milwaukee, and one of the hardest parts of that move was not having a hockey arena nearby. So I'm here in support of the proposed hockey or ice. I'm here, of course, speaking to hockey, but to the ice arena. I'm speaking mostly to my experience with women's hockey and kids hockey. I started a women's organization in Milwaukee 10 years ago. I've been running it ever since. So I'm very connected to everything happening around the state. And there has been a shortage of ice for us playing women's hockey in that entire 10 years. It would be an amazing opportunity. If there were a rink here, my organization would buy ice from it every year. Ice is also a lot more expensive down in Chicago. We play Chicago teams. They would love to travel up here and do the travel to have the cheaper ice. I've been involved in lots of different communities, lots of different sports, and I've never experienced anything like I have with the hockey community. It is just different. We become a family. I've watched amazing growth in Ozaki County. They have a rink there, and women are now playing that have never done anything athletic in their life. And they have built more of a community within, that county and beyond than I've ever seen. Somebody is sick, somebody else there from the organization is dropping off food, picking up their kids, like small things, it doesn't matter. The community I've seen with women's and kids ice hockey is unlike no other. I think it would also be amazing for our community here. I think the proposal involves one rink that would allow a lot of ice time. However, there's also great demand for facilities with 2 rinks for tournament play to be able to have multiple games going on at the same time. With that, you have people coming for entire weekends, staying over in hotels, supporting the businesses that are further away from the rinks. I am in support of the Franksville location because there's already established businesses right there. And my experience from kids hockey and my own hockey is people drop off their kids and they don't want to go home for that hour. So they're going to do their shopping. They're going to go get a drink. They're going to go get food. They're going to have food for their kid. There's so many things that I think that would bring to our community. I'm also expecting our first child, and I would love to have that child involved in the hockey or ice skating or other ice sports community. And I do not want to travel to Kenosha or Illinois or Milwaukee for that. I was playing hockey 4 or 5 times a week before I moved here. Now it's like once a week at most. My life is very different without. And I was surprised there are not more even outdoor ice skating opportunities in Racine County. And especially with our winters changing, I think having a controlled environment, indoor area for people to participate in ice sports would just be probably the best thing that this county could do for our community for decades to come. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And Donnie Snow.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, good evening. I feel somewhat guilty as I'm here to speak on the ice rink, and I've never had on ice skates. I don't even roller skate, but my name is Donnie Snow, and I reside in Racine County at 1111 Villa Street. And my profession is that my past profession was that I was Director of Parks, Recreation, Cultural Services. Worked for Park and Recreation for approximately 33 years and served on the county board for approximately 20 years. So I come before you today in support of the ice arena, but moreover, I come asking and encouraging your support for the endeavor. 25 years ago, I supported the proposed ice arena, and today I'm back to support it the same. I have the same feelings, same convictions, same thoughts as I did then. I believe that it would be good for the county then. I believe it is good for the county now. This will give our community new and needed recreation outlets for youth and families. Who knows, it could open career paths, as some have already said, for youth to dream bigger, to be a figure skater or a participant on the Wisconsin Badgers hockey team or even the NHL. There are no limits, no boundaries, and no barriers when we provide opportunities that are accessible, affordable, and available. And this ice arena would support all three of those: accessibility, affordability, and available. It could happen. Look at what happened with the WNBA when young girls were given an opportunity to play. That, well, just right here in Racine County, we've had 4 or 5 young ladies that made it to the league, the WNBA, right here from Racine County, just from the opportunity that was provided to them. And that league, as well as female sports, have continued to soar. 30 seconds, I would simply say, lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the economic impact of the ice arena. I won't even talk about the health benefits, but as someone has already said, when we get people out of the house, we only need to look at COVID and what happened with COVID when people weren't getting out, businesses closed, and so on and so forth. So when we get people out of the house and into family gatherings and things that like shopping and so forth, we have the opportunity for business to strive as well. So with that, I would encourage you to support the ice arena. And lastly, I would say that the Wisconsin State Park System indicate that they had 17 million visitors that brought in like $1 billion. So that is the economic impact of things of this venture. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yes, sir. I filled out the information online, but apparently it didn't go through.
Okay, well,
Justin Patrick.
why don't you give your name and address?
I live in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, 6305 Bradley Drive.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. When these gentlemen asked me to come in, they said it was a small group, so excuse me if I get a little shaken up. As Miss Ann mentioned, I grew up playing hockey with her son, Andy. I played down in Kenosha with Mark's sons, and I now have 2 boys that play hockey. My 2 sons left Racine schools and school choiced into Kenosha schools so they could play for the Kenosha Thunder. And I think an ice rink here in Racine would be a great opportunity for a lot of kids that aren't able to experience that now. An ice arena provides just a great opportunity to get out, exercise, find loves for other things that maybe you're not able to experience. As you mentioned, there aren't as many parks as there used to that had flooding or ponds that we have the opportunity to skate on in the winter anymore. And I think it would be something wonderful for the entire community, not just hockey players, not just figure skaters, but an opportunity to get out and experience a great sport, a great outlet for energy and activity. So I hope it's considered. I think it would be just great for our community. Thank you, folks.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll go on to item number 5, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is automatically waived unless requested by a majority of the members present. Number 6, resolutions and ordinances referred to committee.
There are none.
Item number 7, introduction of resolutions and ordinance for first reading and referral.
We have resolution number 2024-17 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing a new ARPA project supporting the Racine County Underground Railroad project with the use of sufficient funds within the ARPA 2024 budget.
Communications and claims.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Supervisor Miller had a request.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last evening at the Health and Human Development Committee meeting, the committee unanimously voted to send for first reading Resolution 2024-18, which concerns home delivered meals for our seniors and the funding for that. So I would ask tonight that that be included as a first reading resolution.
Okay. Want to read that then?
That would be resolution number 2024-18 by the Health and Human Development Committee in support of increased funding for home delivered meals programs. And the supervisors do have a copy of this resolution on your desk.
Now, number 8, communications and claims.
Okay, number 1, resolution regarding individual health decisions pertaining to COVID-19 government lockdowns, vaccine and mask mandates from Lafayette County.
Item number 1 is referred to the Health and Human Development Committee.
Number 2 was a citizen comment regarding possible ice rink from Justin Patrick.
Item number 2 is referred to the Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee.
And now the rest of the communication items, number 3 through number 25, are actually all notifications from the United States Bankruptcy Court.
So items number 3 through 25 are referred to the Finance and Human Resources Committee and Corporation Council.
Any supervisors need copies? Supervisor Horth.
Mr. Chairman, if I could have a copy of number 2, please.
Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 1, please. Excuse me, communication number 1.
Vice Chairman.
Like number 1, please.
Meyer. Anybody else? Supervisor Pritzker.
Mr. Supervisor, number 4, please.
4. Anybody else? All right. Standing committee reports containing recommendations of items referred.
We have no standing committee reports, and we also have some communications from the county executive.
Oh, communications from the county executive. How about that?
Report number 2024-2 by county executive making a reappointment to the Civil Service Commission was referred to the Finance and Human Resources Committee.
Supervisor Trottier.
I'll have to take this up on Wednesday.
Okay.
Sorry.
All righty.
Okay, report number 2024-4 by county executive making appointments to the local emergency planning committee was referred to the Government Services Committee.
Supervisor Rollhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As this body may recall at the last meeting, our committee had not met and thus we were not able to act on report number 2024-4. And we had our meeting Thursday night and I'm happy to report that it was a unanimous vote to appoint Lorenzo Santos of Racine, Chad Sampson of Sturtevant, and Dustin Ellis of Mount Pleasant to the local emergency planning committee. And I will so move.
Motion and a second to appoint. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion carried.
We also have report number 2024-5 by county executive making appointments to the Racine County Traffic Safety Commission. This was referred to the Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee.
Yeah, if you could take that, Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not met to confirm this appointment. We will be meeting Thursday night to take this up. So I'd ask her to be laid over to the next county board meeting, please.
I will lay it over.
Next, we have report number 2024-16 by County Executive making reappointments to the Local Emergency Planning Committee.
And refer that to government services.
Report number 2024-17 by County Executive making appointments and reappointments to the Land and Water Conservation Committee.
I'm going to refer that to the Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee.
Report number 2024-18 by County Executive making reappointments to the Racine County Human Services Board.
Refer that to Health and Human Development Committee.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm just on 2024-16. I would ask unanimous consent that we correct that because Mr. Freeman is the coordinator, not the deputy.
Okay. Good catch.
Oh.
He's a school teacher. What do you expect?
Okay, and then report number 2024-19 by County Executive making reappointments to the Racine Public Library Board of Trustees.
And that one was for the executive committee. All right. Number 11. Second reading of resolutions and ordinances.
Under majority vote, we have resolution number 2024-12 by Finance and Human Resources Committee denying the property damage claim of Ryan Schweiger.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The claim of Ryan Schweitzer was denied in a closed door session. Therefore, should anybody have any additional questions, please refer them to legal counsel. Just a note, I believe at the last county board meeting when these were up for first readings, our legal counsel did state that if there's any discussion about these claims, whether they were denied or settled, they should refer to legal counsel.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, I'm going to call the questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, under 2/3 majority vote, we have resolution number 2024-13 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the settlement of the lawsuit of Jerome D. Johnson, Bianca R. Pruitt, and Marvin Payne. Resolution number 2024-14 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the settlement of the workers' compensation claim of June Doyne. Resolution number 2024-15 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the purchase of 2 new Laser Z diesel 25 horsepower Yanmar mowers with 72-inch cutting deck and accessories for $50,000 from the Public Works Used Equipment account. And resolution number 2024-16 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the purchase of a commercial grade utility vehicle with a hydraulic dump in the amount of $13,741 for the Public Works Parks Division using funds repurposed from the 2023 Parks Short-Term Bonds account.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded. Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will take the floor for the next 4. In regards to 2024, 13, and 14, again, these were claims that were settled in closed door sessions. So should you have any questions, please contact our legal counsel. Resolution 2024-15 pertains to our highway department replacing 2 mowers, one with over 30 years of life and the other with about 28 years of life. The cost to replace the mowers is about $50,000 for 2 new mowers. This is within the 2024 budget, and I will make a hats off to our highway department, the mechanics, and the entire team for getting full use out of these mowers. We'll see how long the new ones last. And last but not least, Resolution 2024-16 pertains to the Highway and Parks Department, again, requesting $13,741 to add a commercial utility vehicle that is equipped with hydraulic dump. This is a much lower cost than purchasing a small pickup truck. These, again, are in the 2024 budget.
Are there any questions? Okay, this is a 2/3 majority vote, so that up and we'll.
Okay, now we need to go forward. Supervisor Shakur had to check in first, so he is now considered present, so there we go. All have voted, motion carries unanimously.
Number 12, reconsiderations of resolutions and ordinance from the previous meeting and or actions on vetoes.
There are no items to reconsider.
Reconsideration, number 13, reconsideration of a notice of intent to reconsider resolutions or ordinances.
There is no notice.
Informational papers.
There are no informational reports on tonight's agenda.
Item number 15, miscellaneous business announcements and oral reports. Anybody? I've got Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. This weekend is a big weekend for Juneteenth activities. And I just want to honor our Supervisor Lena Coleman, because she is the MC of the evening for the Sneakers Ball, which is Friday evening. Saturday's events, there will be a parade. If any of you want to come out and watch the Juneteenth parade, that'll start at 4th and Main at 9:45. Go up Main Street to 14th Street to Grand Avenue, and then to the John Bryant Center. So if you're up for viewing a parade, come on out.
Any other? I've got two items here. I've got, first of all, June 22nd is the Dairy Farm Breakfast in Racine County. That's in the town of Dover on the Scholl Dairy Farm. It's a fourth generation farm, about 500 acres. So you're up to getting up early and eating pancakes, come on out. And then also, if you have a specific question, a concern, or an idea, send it forward to like the committee chairs of that area. If you have a health the reason is we would like, I work during the day with 5 supervisors. If everybody called me every time they had a question, and I spend 20 minutes on them, that's a lot of time. So be conscious of, calling department heads to chat, because if 21 of us call the department heads, you can just imagine in a week's time how many calls they would receive. Use email, send it through the committee chairs if you have questions. Obviously, if it's an emergency, the life and safety, then use your best judgment, but that's it. So we are adjourned.